Hi folks, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm an American living in Germany who spent some time working as a roadie. I also had a rare brain tumor, but you can call me Armstrong. Those details are important for you to know for today's video, which will be saved in my Storytime playlist. Because I talk about a variety of topics here on my channel, and I try to sort them all out by playlist. So if that makes you curious, go check them out. So today I want to take you back to 2013. I was once again on the road with a band called the Bloodhound Gang. On this particular day, we were at a festival in Holland that can only be described as a complete giant acid trip of a circus show with bands. This fest had a million things going on in a million different directions. I'm talking unicycles, people's on tight ropes with explosions going off while your favorite band is playing in the background. All this going on as thousands of drunken Dutch people dance in the mud. It was epic, but I had a bad time at that fest. Now I must admit, I was not feeling quite right on this day. I do admit that I may have ingested copious amounts of alcohol on the previous evening. However, on this day, my job of selling band merchandise was just made more complicated by just stupid things, bad organization, and the worst part of it all, the rudest Dutch customers I ever tended to in my life. So let's just start there, just to let you all know what kind of headspace I was in. In my hardest, most difficult times living in Germany, I was always able to run away to the Dutch. I often ran away to Holland, and Holland always took me in, treated me well, and made me smile. Shout out to my girls Judy and Natalie. Hou van jou, poepje. What I'm saying, in my time as an American living as a foreigner in Germany, I freaking love the Dutch. So when I was put in a position of selling band merchandise to Dutch people, often I found that they were some of the most enjoyable customers to tend to. Most Dutch people that I tended to at concerts were so enjoyable to work with. They usually made me laugh. And they were like collectors. And when it came to music, they knew their shit. I'm saying I live in Germany, but Holland will always be my secret lover. Which is why it broke my goddamn heart when I had to deal with some rude-ass Dutch people at this festival. I mean, there were several things I had to deal with this day, but I can tell you, also at this point, I was, up to here. I was fed up with sexism. You see, I was trying really hard to, make it as a foreigner in Germany. But being just that makes it incredibly difficult to get a decent job here. And when I got the opportunity to sell band merch, it struck me in my soul that I found a job that I was passionate about and I could do really well. And I felt good about doing. I felt really good about supporting artists. When I was a roadie, I gave it my all. And I'll tell you what, I felt like Wonder Woman sometimes. And my real reward was always that I was supporting something I loved, music. And the musicians who created it, instead of some sleazy corporation in retail. But alas, over and over and over, I found myself face to face with people who questioned why I was in that position. And quite often, not once did they consider that it was because I was good at the job. And this stupid festival on this day was no exception. The implication was always I must be banging somebody to be in this position. This was not just constantly implied by coy looks. This was often came at me in the form of direct questions like, so are you the singer's girlfriend? Or the more classy and direct, so do you sleep with the whole band on tour? So when it happened again for the millionth time at this festival, I got pissed. And I tossed the guy's beer over his head and I called his mom a hoe. So yeah, on this particular day, I was hungover and cranky, and everything that came at me felt like a fight. But also, if I'm honest, this headspace that I was in, it wasn't good. It was kind of sad. These guys, the Bloodhound Gang, who took me on in this epic position and took me on some amazing adventures, allowed me to be myself and prove myself, show really what I am capable of in a work environment. And they introduced me to so many amazing humans in this world. All this at this moment, it was coming to an end. I could feel it. I had been in denial for a while, but it was becoming clear that this just may be the last tour that I do with these brothers from other mothers. That made me sad. Honestly, maybe I'm still a little bit in denial because I do still sometimes hope a little bit for a reunion tour or something like that. But again, this is where my headspace was on this day. But if we fast forward to approximately 5 years later after this story took place, I would find out and have removed a brain tumor that had been growing in the left side of my head for 10 years. I didn't know it at that point on this day. But I'll tell you what, on this day, I really did not understand why I was so exhausted. And I also felt extra clumsy and dizzy and distracted. And I was writing it all off to other things, like alcohol consumption, bad diet, bad sleeping. I had a million excuses. I had a million reasons for feeling like a grumpy merch girl. I mean, I hold responsibility for my extreme alcohol consume at times. Back when I was a roadie, I don't do that anymore. But you know, bad sleeping situations on top of that, not the best diet, a lot on my mind, a bunch of really tough customers today, festival organizers that were a big pain in my ass and not at all helpful. I'm almost at the end of this gig that I love so much, and I'm about to go back to either being unemployed or some shit job in Germany. So I had a ton of reasons as to why I was sitting at the end of my workday, backstage on a pile of my merch boxes, just feeling sad and broken. And I'm pretty sure it showed. I'm pretty sure sitting there, I looked like a pretty grumpy, broken merch girl upon my merch boxes as I sat and I waited for a truck to pick them up. We were getting ready to head to the next gig, which was going to be in the Ukraine. Yep, we were off to do concert in Ukraine and offend Putin and such. So there I am, feeling broken, but trying to appear tough because I'm a roadie. When a member of my crew walks by and asks if I had seen the band that was at that moment up on the stage. He said he had just been watching them the whole time they were up there and that it was amazing. I, of course, had to tell him no, I didn't see any of it. I'm sitting here being grumpy on my merch boxes, waiting for him to get picked up. But he was so impressed and said it was so impressive, the show that they put on, that it made me really curious. I asked him, what's the band called? And I specifically remember him telling me he wasn't sure, but it was Rainbow something. The word rainbow was on everything. And he said to me, the entire stage was full, like in regards to how many people were in this band. He said the entire stage was full. And he said he claimed that it appeared to be made up of people with disabilities. And that these musicians filled the entire stage with a variety of instruments, performed several songs. And he said it was pretty fantastic. I was like, wow, this festival really did offer something for everyone. I remember thinking, as much as a bad time as I'm having here, I have to admit this is pretty epic what they got going on. Nonetheless, I was in a bad, sad headspace. Having a no good time, worried about my future, and feeling extremely exhausted. But also slightly dizzy, sort of weird, like a bad hangover that wasn't going away. And I was feeling a bit of the sads. I was broken, my dear viewers. I was broken. But my colleague's nice words about the band that was on stage made me so curious. I thought I had to try to get like a peek. Unfortunately, by that moment, they had finished and they were exiting the stage. So like I had a straight on view of that ramp exiting backstage. And just as he had described, I saw a lot of people exiting that stage. It was like a parade. From the stage, down the ramp to the backstage area, I noticed a lot of like local Dutch press there, seemed very interested to talk to them, and I thought, they must be popular here. I'll have to look them up online. I took note of the word Rainbow Band on their shirts. And that, my dear viewers, is when our eyes met. He had a perfectly fitted blue button-up shirt, and his brown hair was very nicely styled. He was coming down that backstage ramp when our eyes locked on each other. For some reason. Like, I'm saying, we locked eyes, and I don't recall in that moment either one of us, like, smiling at the other. But our eyes were locked, and he was walking directly towards me. When he was right in front of me, I don't recall if either of us said any words. All I know is he was right in front of me, and he put his arms out, and I fell into the nicest hug I never even knew I needed until I got it. I mentioned a few times already how on this day I was feeling really completely broken. Well, if I wasn't completely broken, I broke at that moment. I literally began to weep. And I do not care if anyone believes me or thinks this sounds silly, but this really felt like such a magical experience. He felt like an angel. He locked eyes with me. No words came right to me. Gave me that hug. At a moment, I was breaking. I was trying so hard to keep up a tough girl persona. Just keep going, prove yourself, show no weakness. And bam! Out of nowhere, across the backstage field, my eyes locked with a complete stranger. And I am convinced we both felt something. We connected for a beautiful moment. He just came directly to me, this complete stranger. No words. Somehow he looked in my eyes and he knew what I needed. So he offered me a hug. And I'm telling you, I felt that hug really deep in my soul. And it became real hard in those moments as I laid in his arms to fight down tears. It still is sometimes when I tell this story. But there I was, in a hug with a complete stranger who I exchanged no words with, had never met before in my life. And it ended up being the best hug I ever received in my entire life. And I didn't even know that I needed it until I got it. That complete stranger knew that I needed a hug before I did. That's magical. The sad thing is, I never got his name. And if I did, I forgot it. And I'm sorry. But I know I got some great Dutch people watching my channel. Maybe one of you know who he is and can let him know I think of him often. By the way, if you show him this video, he won't recognize me. I used to have long red hair when he met me. I'm much older and more broken now. But yeah, if anybody knows who he is, he should know he gets thought of often. I think of him often. Like a little angel that appeared for me right when I needed him. I bet he has no idea how he touched my heart and soul that day. You know, I've had many encounters with strangers and often had to rely on the kindness of strangers in my time, for example, traveling around as a roadie. But no one ever touched me deeper in my soul in a moment like that than that guy. Like, looking back now, I'm realizing part of what was going on with my headspace that day is I was starting to feel the effects of having a brain tumor over here. But all I knew is that life was feeling scary and hard, and I couldn't wrap my head around anything. And somehow, fate decided to send me the best hug I ever got. I'll try to put a link down below in the description to a video of this band. I found it here on YouTube, and it's actually from that day, just in case you're curious. But honestly, I had a hard time finding out almost anything about this band due to the fact that there appears to be another Dutch band that had a same or similar name that was very popular. But also there's many, not just bands, but also organizations named Rainbow this or that. So I had a hard time stalking my little guardian angel. But if you happen to see it, kind stranger who gave me the best hug that I didn't know I needed until I got it, I hope you know I do think of you often. And that I truly do kind of view you kind of as a little angel. Because for how I was feeling on that day, you sure did appear and act like an angel. I think we're going to end this sweet story there for now. I hope that you viewers are aware of how little random acts of kindness, they cost you nothing. And sometimes they can really affect people in priceless ways. So hand out that stuff whenever you can. I'm curious if any of you have some random meeting with a kind stranger story that you keep in your heart. please feel free to share it with us down below in a comment. I love that kind of stuff. Like, I love hearing those types of stories, and I know that I've been really lucky to experience as many as I have. And I hope to share more that I had with you in the near future. But before I go, I should mention there's actually a part 2 to this story in my members only section right now. You can view members only videos by clicking the join button. Regardless of what level membership you choose to support my channel, you get all the perks. I do appreciate all of your support. I'd also appreciate you giving me a like on this video, and I think I already said it, consider subscribing if you haven't already. I hope to be coming at you soon with something else, but until that happens, I do hope that you're over there taking care of yourself.